Hello, welcome to Spreadsheets for Accounting, AAT Level 3, Advanced Formatting Chapter 3, the final bit of this chapter, data validation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this in detail. So, what is data validation? And if I was into any cell here, I could put any old nonsense in there, and Excel is not really preventing me putting anything in terms of numbers and what have you, just anything. And that allows the input of errors by people into cells on the one hand. And so let's assume, let's say we take my name, Michael Norton, and we want to put that into a sheet. We could go for Michael Norton, or we could go for M Norton, or we could go for Mike Norton, or we could spell my name wrong. Let's say Michael, and then we'll have that one. There, or any other kind of variance. Let's say I'd set up though a little table over here of amounts that we were going to charge my rate out to. So we're going to have this one and another whole series of other people over here, and we're going to charge out, let's say me at £100, and then these other people at £50, and then that plus £5 and all that. Right, so what we're going to do is when we're doing some kind of quote here, we're going to put the various names of people in here. So let's go for Michael Norton. We got it right here, but then somebody else got it wrong there because that's and then we're going to have some kind of person 10 there. We'll get that one right, but P5 there, and somebody decides to put this person in here as well. We then use a lookup. We'll do that later on it's in formatting. It's in their functions in the next chapter. So we'll use this lookup, which is you're going to have to use within the exam. In here, that one. See how that dragged across, went off that base of that name, found it in there, went across two lines and pulled out what we're going to charge here, and we're going to put some hours. We all spend 3 hours on this, and you can see how this one, Excel's gone into here, looked for Mike Norton, and you might think, well, that's Michael Norton. Yep, but it couldn't find that in that table because it's Michael Norton. This person 10 found that, but P5, somebody else put something. That's nothing. That's not in there though, and Mickey Mouse wasn't in there either. So, what often you'll see is this data validation being used to set up functions later on and make sure that they're accurate. So you're forced to do it. So that's the purpose of it really, and I'm going to go through how we do it. So we're what we're doing is we're forcing the person to move away from just being able to type in any old rubbish. In this case, Mike Norton, and there. And they have to actually put in specifically what it is. Now, it will either be that they'll have to type it in, and it will come back and say, well, actually, you've typed in something that we're not accepting here. Or alternatively, it'll give what's known as a little drop-down box, a little drop-down box which will give the various options. So you can still type it in, but in this instance, we can see over here, I've already sort of set up what the options will be. So that's what data validation is trying to do. It's trying to sort of force the inputter into our spreadsheet to only use particular things that we want them to do, and then in doing so, we're going to typically use some kind of function, which we'll see in the next chapter, to then make sure that this thing works. And instead of putting in rubbish, they have to put this right thing. If they were just allowed to put in rubbish, things like our lookup functions wouldn't work. Right, so we're on page 80 in here, and it's sort of saying, yep, we got some data validation in here. Let's have a look. Have I set it up? No, I haven't. Right, okay, so let's clear that out here. Let's go over here. We're going to put in our sales. Oh, actually, I think I have set it up. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to change. The only issue that I have with data validation here is that if I use it, it switches the video off, which is annoying. So let's have a go and set this up already. Putting our sales in here, bold, we're going to underline that there. We got our month here, our product, our value over here. Hold that and underline it. or border that. Sorry, not underline, border. So that's how we've got there. And then what we've got over here then is we've got this thing here, which we've created as data validation. So how did they do that in there? So I'm going to put that February in there, very specific. And over here, well, we've got some kind of product the data validation in here. So how did they create this one in here? So how does this happen? On page 81, it's got this data validation in here. And so it said, we go into data validation. What we do is we go into the data tab here. We flip the data, and then they've used this option. When you flip the data validation and data validation, it will come up with this little box. This one here is where you select your options. So what will we be allowing? So we're going to allow this list. Now in the book, what they've done is that they put these, started to list them out like that there. They'll type it all out. That will take some time in the exam. That's not the fastest way to do it. The fastest way to do it would be to go, I'll just delete this out and show you how quickly to do it. What you're actually going to do in the exam. You'll go Jan, in this instance, on the cell, see the little square there? Drag that down to the December. That's created a list. We then click into this thing here. And when we click into that one, it comes out and will give us the little range finder. We click on the top one cell above where we want it to be. We drag down and we go a little bit below as well. The reason why we go one cell above where we want our list and we have a gap here is because when we go back to here, let me just copy this down, one here, and just delete that out. When I open it up, you can see it starts at the top. The little quirk within Excel, if you started there on the January and dropped down to December and you opened it up, it will start on the December. It will start at the bottom. So if you wanted to start at the top, which is you always would do, that would be naturally where you would do it, because you would sort your list into some kind of sensible order. You have to go one cell above and it starts at the top. That's the faster way of doing it. If you try to do it the way that the book has it in there, what you will tend, well, that just took a long time, isn't it? I went January, dragged it down, hit the list and did the range down. There we go. That was done in a few seconds. It probably took about 30 seconds, whereas the book would require to get it even right 3 or 4 minutes. So that's not a sensible way of going about it. You won't do it like that. You'll do it the way that I just showed you. They've done it over the page on 82. This idea again of writing in this kind of stuff. Now that's getting just way too long in there, and that doesn't work at all. What you're going to do is you'll put your list to the right. Accessories. Because if you can imagine trying to type this actually in that little square box with the little commas in front and getting it correctly and spelling as we're going along, that is just not going to work in an exam. Jewelry and other. It also allows you as well, if you had to go back and resort this, so you got it wrong, or you wanted to put something in, or I've missed out something, like let's put shoes in there, but I'd like it to go alphabetically, then I can come back to here and I can sort it. So I could go and sort that list. I'm going to just go sort it there though, A to Z. Yeah, continue with the current section. And yeah, to be fair, should have picked something that would sort of sit inside. But I could put something inside and just sort it. So I don't know what we're going to go for. Let's change that to jumpers. In that, right click, sort the cells, A to Z. Yeah, continue with the current section, and there we go. Right, and that comes in there. So whereas I'd have to faff around going into the into the actual data validation. Sorry, I've still got this cold. Into the data validation and try and get it in the right way. So what you're going to do then in terms of the way in which you're going to get your list sorted is you'll throw the list to the right hand side of your spreadsheet. You'll put them in columns of their own. You will not put this list underneath here. You'll put it in its own columns over to the right, and then you will do your list going into your data validation. So you're going to data validation, into this little data validation box, flick that to list, this bit here, then you will come out using that button there into your range, start one cell above where you want it to be, drag it down, go down a bit past it, And then that means that allows you to put some extra things in the bottom. If suddenly you had to put some extra stuff in the exam, it says now you've got to put some more things in. And by having that as well, you can then sort it, and you can play around with this list if you got it wrong as well, rather than having to go back in and try and do it in a very fiddly box in the way that it's got in page 82. Right, so that's that version. We could also as well, within this these options here, we'll have little numbers like between. So I think I've got this one set up over here. Let's go through what I got. So I've done the list for the accessories as well there. I've got this one over here, and we've gone here. So I said, right, this is going to be a whole number between that and that. So that's where I did. I went into data validation over here, pressed the data validation box, up came this box, in there to select what we're going to go for. Here on this one on page 82, we've gone for whole numbers here. We've gone between there, and that's set our data validation. Okay. Right. Now, on page 83, it's sort of saying we've got this existing data here. We've got this existing data. We can apply data validation to existing data. So we're going to put over the top of this existing data, go into here, our data validation, set it, and then press OK. So the data validation is now applied to here. So if you go into this box and try to retype -9, it will give you a no, that's an error, that's not going to work, and kick you back out of it. But it doesn't go back and change existing data. So what you can do is you can use this as well to say, well, actually tell me where things are wrong. So instead, so we've already set our data validation up over the top of here with this version. We've then gone into data validation after highlighting all this and say circle invalid data over here. So we've selected that option there. And then, so we've selected our option over this data over here. And then what it should do in here, if you do that, then what it will happen is it will do what it's done on page 84 and put a big red circle around that one when you've done it. So as soon as you press enter on that, or then you'll see a big red circle that will come over that. I deleted. No. What it also says then on page 84 is that you could copy the data validation. So here, what I've done is I've taken the data validation here. I've taken the data validation. I've got it in here. I'm going to copy it down. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to copy. Control C. I highlight these cells here. Let's say I'm going to copy. Now what I do here is I don't just copy and paste. So Control C, Control V. If I copy and paste and Control C and Control V here, it will actually paste all the ones in. I mean, I could do that. So Control V there. Let's just paste it in. So Control C and Control V, and you see it puts the ones in. I might not want that in there. I mean, I could do that and delete it out, and then start from there. But let's say that I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go Control C, and instead I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to use what's known as paste specials in here. Click at that one, and I'd use paste validations. So I could paste my validations over, and when I do that, you'll see that the actual data in there didn't come in. But what will be in here now? So let's put a -9 in. See how it now tells us, no, you're not going to have that. That's not going to work because it's no longer the data validations. That's not acceptable. So it comes up and tells. So you can paste that. What I'm also going to do as well is I'll show you in terms of, let's Control C. Control C. We'll see this later on, but for some reason it's not been put into the formatting section. Control C and paste options in here. I'll print screen that and we'll put that onto a separate sheet. When we do the copy, if we do a right click and we have and we use paste specials, we have these other things that are available to us. Normally when we paste, just a normal paste, we paste formulas. If you paste values, it takes the formulas out and just puts the value in there. So it's what's known as hard coding. So you take the values out. Formats is one that you'll use. So let's say we've done conditional formatting. We want to apply it to some new data, but we don't want to overtype the data with what's going in there. We're just going to paste the format on the top. So that would be that one there. And then paste validation is going to be the other one. comments, if you have got a comment in some bit then you wanted to repeat the comment elsewhere, you do paste the comments. So that can be useful in terms of just paste specials that are available to you. And that is data validation. Hope you enjoyed it. And then you've got now a whole series of activities which I think I've already done the video for. Good luck. See you soon.